Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Future Tech podcast series. It's me, Charlie Sell, the Group MD of Arrows Group, and I am here interviewing thought leaders, CTOs, senior level people, basically within the technology space, aimed at giving advice, their thoughts on emerging technologies, and a bit about their story, all at STEM graduates. So really pleased to have Ed Clarke with me today. Hi, Ed. How you doing?
Hi, Charlie.
Ed is a thought leader within the health tech space, so has been fully submerged within it for the last couple of years, looking at all the positive impacts of it. And I know he's got some pretty interesting views and thoughts, not just about emerging technology, but also about the health tech space in itself. And to hear about your story. So, Ed, let's hear a bit about you. How are you and how did you get into technology?
Yeah, cool. Thanks, Charlie. Yeah, it's been an interesting few months with the lockdown and trying a few new ideas out. But yeah, I got into technology, I guess the sort of traditional way from university. But originally I wanted to get into engineering, so I did a foundation course in engineering which covered quite a lot of different skills. And then after that, I decided to go full into technology. So I went to Liverpool, did a degree in business. So it was kind of half tech and a bit of sort of management, marketing, and that kind of stuff. And that sort of set me up to start applying for some tech roles, and eventually landed a job in London just as a junior sort of analyst working with Java, and then it sort of went from there.
Fantastic. And so, what companies have you worked with throughout? Has it been traditional tech businesses, or have you worked with any weird and wonderful type businesses?
Pretty much everything. I think so. My first role was in sort of energy, sort of British Gas, and that had a wide range of projects, everything from smart metering, the how we manage the engineers, with the devices. Let me drive the British Gas van, which was quite cool. And then yeah, sort of those kind of projects. That's kind of more traditional, large business, and gradually work my way towards sort of the I guess the traditional dev manager role during a few agile transformations that we did. So there was quite a large one. The first one I did, I think it was the largest in Europe, to do smart metering. So they were trying to do smart metering and agile transformation, which was an enormous challenge. But we learned a lot from doing that. And then from there, I decided to have a bit of a change. So moved into more, your kind of online business, doing like price comparison, um, and then moved on to sort of logistics. So did a year or so in ASOS doing the American warehouse projects, and so learned a lot about that. And that was also one of the first projects that had distributed team. So you have like half the team in the UK, half the team in India, delivering into a US warehouse. So in terms of timing, there's a few complexities there. But yeah, very interesting, very interesting project. And from there, that's when I got into fintech. So I was CTO at Pocket, which is a fintech startup. So that was a full-on startup environment. Literally starting from one developer, and that was very hands-on actually. So that was going. I've moved a couple of times from sort of management and then very hands-on back to management and some of the architecture stuff, and then hands-on again. And from there, moved to Just Eat, looking after the global payments function. And again, that was another it was a sort of distributed team, and this one was more complex. So you had team in London, team in Bristol, team in Ukraine, delivering projects into all over the world. So Australia was quite a big one, and for a few other ones. So yes, that was very interesting. And I think from there, I was sort of as I was sort of getting a bit older, into my early 30s, and looking at the cost of living in London, I was sort of feeling like a bit of a change really, and perhaps a chance to kind of move around a little bit, try a few different things, but also think about something that I can generate, something that I can perhaps generate sustainably, or I can have an income. So if you have multiple streams of income, for example, that doesn't tie me to an area, and because that would allow me to say live up north, live closer to family, and or if I wanted to work abroad, and so that's how I got into the research and looking at different avenues. So the health tech started when I was when I left London, I was doing a bit of contracting, which was just living away from home in hotels. But so I moved back in with my mum and her partner. He was a hypnotherapist, and we sort of started chatting, talking about what I've been doing and some of the health, particularly mental health for young people, because that was a big area of interest for me. As time's gone on, people have been talking more and more about how technology has affected young people, millennials in particular. And I also got a bit sort of fed up reading endless articles about what's wrong with millennials, rather than actually people taking this on and going, there's something more to this, guys. I think we need to be supporting young people a little bit more. So yeah, so that's kind of a brief overview of the journey, and
Yeah.
that's where I am at the moment.
Fantastic. And, we were talking a bit before starting the podcast about mental health and the positive impact technology can have, and relating it back to the fintech as an industry where, no, sorry, health tech even as an industry where we get it right, we can have some really positive value to many people's lives. And like you said, you've been researching it now for the last couple of years. So maybe thinking around emerging technologies then, and what you're seeing as technology that's moving forward. Do you have any views? What excites you?
So two of the main areas I was looking at. One, so I originally started looking at 3D environments with the like using Oculus Rift, and there's actually a couple of companies that have started doing that now, and that was with regards to things like phobias. So we were doing things with you could do things like moving objects around, and so if you're doing NLP or elements of hypnotherapy, a lot of that is kind of, you can use props, and it's to kind of get the person used to whatever fear it is. It could be heights, things like that. And some of the things that Stuart Graves, who's the hypnotherapist I'm working with, does, he's actually combined NLP, EMDR, and hypnotherapy into quite a focused solution, which looks like it could potentially work well with some of these technologies. And some of it involves perhaps scripts, audio you can go through. Some of it is even sort of arm movements and certain things you can do it's to try and get the mind to kind of either reprogram itself or lessen the impact of certain fears. So it's yeah, a very interesting area. And as well as part of that is looking at the app that we were talking about was a way of safely bringing people from perhaps a point where they feel they could do with mental health support to taking them on that journey to actually seeing a therapist, because in this country it actually takes quite a long time, how the NHS is set up currently, and there's a lot we could do, helping people, young people especially, with sort of managing that and giving them the support they need.
Yeah, yeah. And again, relating it back to mental health, or how technology can be an aid there is super important. So along with 3D technology, then is there have you been looking at in regards to building apps or where health tech could go? Is there, if you're able to predict technology in sort of 5 years' time, do you think things like AI are going to have a massive influence, or VR, or any of the sort of the big data capacity?
Well, yeah, I think AI is one of the sort of hot topics at the moment. So people have done experiments replacing experts, not sort of replacing them entirely, but using AI and big data to kind of see if we can predict illnesses versus, say, a doctor. That's one quite big area. And other areas are, I think there's companies setting up monitoring in people's homes to help old people. So you could have say like an Xbox scanner or these type of technologies, and see and sort of learn the person's behavior. And if it's someone that's, say, with Alzheimer's or started getting dementia, you could say, well, they haven't been to the kitchen for 6 hours. Maybe that's not part of their usual routine. Maybe they need support. And so I think that AI side of it is going to be a huge area of, I guess, that proactive support. But if you look across some of the other sort of trends in health tech, I mean, one of the biggest ones is connecting people to sort of doctors, helping doctors communicate, remote working and sort of sharing within hospitals, even robotics and prosthetics. So if you look at what's going on, it's almost like health tech is the trend because it's got all the other elements are really coming into it. And I can see into the future, a few years' time, it will probably overtake, especially post-COVID, it will probably overtake the fintech. I think it will probably be the world's largest industry because there's so much scope for it and so much need as well.
Yeah, yeah. Well, again, looking at it from my side of the table, when looking at trends of where investment's going and even just general recruitment, you can see it is by far the fastest growing sector. I think it was pre-COVID, it was still the fastest growing sector. During COVID, without doubt, and I think you're right. The realization of that's where we need to focus our time, money, and resources. It needs to be within the sectors that are going to look after people in the future, really. So, yeah, super exciting. Yeah. So then, last question, and then one for many of the grads listening. They're about to take their first steps into the real world. If it's not today, it's going to be within 12 months' time. Any thoughts, advice that you would give yourself when you're at that point that you wish you knew?
I think probably one of the most important things is really focus on your sort of core strengths, and because I think if I sort of think back to how I was then, I was really thinking, oh, I'm not good at this, oh, I might struggle with that, and I think and you will, everyone struggles, and but you will very quickly find that you can really you'll suddenly realize that you can do things you never thought you could, and really to sort of go. Don't be afraid to try things, even if you fail, because that's part of learning and going through that discovery. So that's probably the best bit of advice I would have given myself. Really try and go for everything and be brave, because you'll probably find you can do it.
Yeah, and what great words, because I couldn't agree with you more. It's time to embrace change and to be fearless, isn't it? You learn by your mistakes is another thing that we talk about a lot. So, don't be afraid to go out there and try new things.
Yeah, and it's going to be new for everyone, even as we come out of the post-COVID world and the amount of change and upheaval and adaptation. It's almost like we're all going to be sort of juniors again. Some people, even very experienced people, CEOs, experts, are going to be finding that they're having to learn, sort of really learn new things. So in many ways, we're all going to be in the same boat. So, it's going to be interesting times.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, Ed, thank you very much. Again, to speak to someone who is investing so much of their own personal time as much as trying to build a business out of these emerging markets, it's been really interesting to hear your story, but also your thoughts. And the 3D digital side, I think that's also a really interesting area, which is quite. For me, it's not that massively spoken about. So that could really be an area for people to look at and get a bit of understanding. And as you say, be fearless to all those grads looking out there, try new things, go and give things a go, and know that, everyone is learning right now. So it's a level playing field in many ways.
Yeah, definitely.
Brilliant. Well, look,
cool.
Great. So that was another episode of the Future Tech podcast series. A big thank you to Ed Clarke. It's posted on our YouTube channel, on Spotify, and of course it's going to be on the career portal pages for the universities that we've partnered with. So thanks everyone, and listen to you next time.